The Cambodian genocide, also known as the Khmer Rouge massacre, is one of the most horrific crimes against humanity in the 20th century. It took place between 1975 and 1979 when the Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, seized power in Cambodia. The regime aimed to establish an ideal communist society, but this effort led to the death of about 2 million Cambodians. The Khmer Rouge sought to create an agrarian utopia and return to the roots of early communism, implementing radical changes to the country's social and economic structures. These changes included mass expulsions from cities, the abolition of private property, and the imposition of harsh agricultural labor. The regime's policies not only disrupted daily life, but also caused widespread famine, disease, and mass executions, resulting in unprecedented genocide. In the 1960s to the early 1970s, Cambodia was caught in the midst of internal conflicts and regional wars. After the fall of the Khmer Republic and withdrawal of American forces from Vietnam, the Khmer Rouge came to power in April 1975. This group quickly implemented radical changes to the country's social and economic structures. Before the Khmer Rouge took power, Cambodia experienced intense civil wars and political unrest, exacerbated by heavy American bombing in the border areas with Vietnam. During this period, Cambodia's economy weakened and unemployment and poverty rose. The Khmer Rouge capitalized on this chaos, presenting themselves as the country's saviors. With radical slogans and promises of sweeping changes, they garnered popular support. In the 1960s and early 1970s, Cambodia was caught in the midst of internal conflicts and regional wars. After the fall of the Khmer Republic and the withdrawal of the American forces from Vietnam, the Khmer Rouge came to power in April 1975. This group quickly implemented radical changes to the country's social and economic structures. Before the Khmer Rouge took power, Cambodia experienced intense civil wars and political unrest, exacerbated by heavy American bombing in the border areas with Vietnam. During this period, Cambodia's economy weakened and unemployment and poverty rose. The Khmer Rouge capitalized on this chaos, presenting themselves as the country's saviors. With radical slogans and promises of sweeping changes, they garnered popular support. When the Khmer Rouge came to power, Cambodian citizens were forced to leave the cities and move to rural areas. The Khmer Rouge abolished private ownership and turned to hard agricultural labor as a way to create a self-sufficient agrarian society. These actions, along with strict and repressive policies, led to widespread hunger, disease, and mass executions. Led by Pol Pot, the regime aimed to establish a classless, ideal communist society by returning to a simple, communal lifestyle. They deemed all forms of urban life, education, and technology harmful and attempted to make everyone work in agriculture. These sudden changes, without proper planning, resulted in a significant drop in food production and increased famine. Additionally, any opposition to these policies was broadly suppressed. The Khmer Rouge were ruthless in suppressing dissent. Even within their own party, many people were sent to notorious prisons like S21 on false charges, where they were tortured and eventually executed. The regime also conducted internal purges, killing thousands of party and army members accused of treason. At Tuol Sleng, one of the most infamous detention and torture centers, thousands of innocent people were arrested on baseless charges and subjected to inhumane torture. This prison became a symbol of the Khmer Rouge's terror and brutality. Vague and approval accusations such as spying for foreign enemies or betraying party ideology were used as excuses for bloody purges. Pol Pot and other Khmer Rouge leaders aggressively pursued internal purges, violently crushing any sign of opposition or dissent. The actions of the Khmer Rouge led to the death of millions of Cambodians. Some victims died for starvation and disease, while many others were systematically executed. It's estimated that around 20% of Cambodia's population perished during this period. This dark era resulted in countless families being torn apart and the overall collapse of Cambodian society. Many survivors faced deep psychological trauma and fear that stayed with them for the rest of their lives. The destruction of the country's social and economic infrastructure also made rebuilding Cambodia a massive challenge after the fall of the Khmer Rouge. In December 1978, Vietnam invaded Cambodia, and by January 1979, they had ousted the Khmer Rouge from power. This invasion ended Pol Pot's reign of terror and paved the way for the establishment of a new government in Cambodia. Although conflicts continued into the early 1990s, the arrival of Vietnamese forces in Cambodia, despite facing international criticism, is considered a turning point in Cambodian history. After the fall of the Khmer Rouge, efforts to rebuild the country and establish political stability began. However, remnants of the Khmer Rouge continued guerrilla activities and controlled certain areas of the country until the early 1970s. After the fall of the Khmer Rouge, both the international community and Cambodia worked to bring justice to the victims. International courts were established to try the Khmer Rouge leaders, and some were held accountable for their crimes. Additionally, Cambodia gradually embarked on the path of economic and social reconstruction. In the years following the fall of the Khmer Rouge, international efforts to investigate and document the regime's crimes intensified. The extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia, supported by the United Nations, successfully tried and convicted several senior Khmer Rouge leaders. These trials were seen as significant steps towards achieving justice and restoring trust in Cambodian society. Rebuilding the devastated infrastructure and returning to normal life has been a slow but hopeful process for the Cambodian people. The Cambodian genocide remains one of the darkest chapters in the human history. This event is etched in the collective memories of the Cambodian people and the world, serving as a warning to prevent such atrocities from happening again in the future. Memorials and museums like the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum and the killing fields of Chingikay have been established to honor the victims and educate visitors about this tragedy. These memorials serve not only as places of remembrance and reflection, but also as educational centers for future generations. Educational programs and historical tours held at these sites help young people and visitors understand the various aspects of this catastrophe and learn valuable lessons from it. Preserving these sites and maintaining an historical memory of these events is crucial to preventing similar crimes in the future.
Thank you.